you shouldn't go in right now." When the police officer said that, I froze. But to understand this story, I need to go back to earlier that morning. My name is Jennifer Carter. I've worked as an accountant for 15 years. My husband Mark is a salesman. Our son Ethan is 9 years old. We were an ordinary family. At least, that's what I thought. But Mark changed 5 years ago. He made a huge mistake at work, and his annual income dropped dramatically. He was depressed. "I lost our biggest client. I'm so sorry," he said that night. "I supported my husband. That's what families do." But after that, he gradually changed. "My annual income is $150,000. Mark's income dropped to $100,000. He seemed bothered by earning less than me. "We're a team, Mark." "That doesn't matter," I told him many times. But it bothered him. Something visible in his eyes grew darker day by day. That morning, Ethan said, "Mom, can I go over to Tyler's house today?" I looked at my son. His eyes were shining. "Of course. But be home by 5. "Okay," my son answered happily. Tyler was my son's best friend. Tyler's mother Lisa was always kind, and I trusted her. Her house was a 5-minute walk from ours, and they'd moved in 2 years ago. Since then, we'd become close friends. At 2 in the afternoon, my son left. "I'm going, Mom. Have fun." I waved. My son ran off with a smile. That was the last moment of my peaceful life. At 4 o'clock, my cell phone rang. It was the hospital. "Mrs. Carter. Ethan has been brought to the hospital. Apparently he fell down the stairs at a friend's house. Can you come right away?" The nurse's voice was urgent. I froze. "What? Is he okay?" "He's unconscious. Please hurry." The call ended. I jumped in my car. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. "Ethan, please be safe." I prayed this over and over as I drove to the hospital. Red lights felt like they lasted forever. All the cars around me seemed to be moving in slow motion. I arrived at the hospital. I tried to head to my son's room. But a police officer was standing there. "Ma'am, you shouldn't go in right now." I was confused. "What do you mean?" "That's my son in there." "I understand. But please wait a moment. You'll understand soon." I was even more confused. "Why are the police here? What happened?" The officer answered quietly. "Your son fell down the stairs. We're investigating." Investigating? It was an accident, wasn't it? That's what we need to confirm. The officer continued explaining. When a child is injured at someone else's home, we investigate. We need to make sure there was no negligence or abuse. This is standard procedure. But Tyler's mom is my friend. She would never. We're just doing our job. 10 minutes later, Mark came out of the hospital room. But his expression was strange. He was smiling with an odd sense of relief. "Why? Our son is injured, so why is he smiling?" "Mark. How's Ethan?" I shouted. "He's okay. He's unconscious, but the doctor said he'll recover." "Thank God." "What happened?" "He fell down the stairs. At Tyler's house." But Mark's expression was unnatural. He still had that strangely relieved look on his face. "Mark, why are you smiling?" I asked. "What? I'm not smiling. I'm just relieved." "But you look happy." "I'm not happy. It's just that the doctor said there might be memory loss. So he might not remember the fall." "That's a good thing, right?" I felt something was off. Memory loss is a good thing. Why? The doctor came out. Mrs. Carter, your son has a concussion. He's unconscious, but his condition is stable. He should wake up in a few hours. Will he be okay? Yes. However, there's a possibility of short-term memory loss. He may not remember what happened before the fall. Mark said, see? He won't remember. That's good, right? I looked at him. Why is he so relieved? Why is he happy that our son won't remember? What doesn't he want our son to have seen? The police officer let me into the room. Ethan was lying in bed. Bandages on his head. Bruises on his face. I held my son's hand. Ethan, Mom's here. 6 hours later, Ethan woke up. Mom. I heard his small voice. Ethan. You're awake. I squeezed my son's hand tightly. The doctor came in to examine him. Ethan, do you remember what happened? My son thought for a moment before answering. I fell down the stairs. Do you remember what happened before that? Ethan looked at Mark. In that moment, I saw something in my son's eyes. Fear. My son was afraid of his father. I don't remember, Ethan said in a small voice. Mark immediately said, see, he doesn't remember. That's good. There was obvious relief in his voice. But I knew. My son was lying. My son remembered something. But he was too afraid of his father to say it. After the doctor left the room, my husband went home too. I have to take a work call. Jennifer, you stay with Ethan tonight. Of course, I answered. After my husband left, only my son and I remained in the hospital room. Silence continued. I held my son's hand while gazing at his face. Ethan was staring at the ceiling. Tears were forming in his eyes. Ethan, I said gently. Mom's here. Whatever happened, Mom is on your side. My son slowly looked at me. There was hesitation in his eyes. And fear. Mom, I have to show you something, he said in a trembling voice. What? Look at my phone. Ethan pointed to the shelf beside the bed. His phone was there. The one we'd given him for a school project. I picked up the phone. Look at the photos, Mom, my son said. I opened the photo app. And the moment I saw what was on the screen, the world stopped. The photo showed Mark and Lisa. On a bed. Kissing. In Lisa's bedroom. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking. What is this? Is this real? Mom, I saw them, Ethan said through tears. I went to Tyler's house and tried to go to the bathroom. I went upstairs and the door to Aunt Lisa's bedroom was open. Dad and Aunt Lisa were there. They were kissing. My son's voice was shaking. I got scared. But for some reason I took a picture. Then I ran and tried to go down the stairs. But I tripped. That's when I fell. I hugged my son. It's okay, Ethan. This isn't your fault. You did the right thing. My son cried in my arms. But Dad might be angry. That's why I lied and said I didn't remember. Anger burned in my heart. My husband had made my son afraid. My son had to lie because he was afraid of his own father. This is unforgivable. Ethan, listen, I looked into my son's face. You were brave. This photo is important evidence. Mom will take care of everything. You don't have to worry about anything. Really? Really? Trust Mom. My son nodded. Then, feeling reassured, he fell asleep again. I gazed at my sleeping son's face while beginning to form a plan. But first, I needed to confirm something. The next morning, I called my best friend Sarah. Sarah is a lawyer and has been my friend since high school. Sarah, I need to talk. What's wrong? Your voice sounds different. Mark's having an affair. With Lisa. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Then Sarah said, Jennifer, there's something I have to tell you. What? My heart began to race. I saw them. 3 months ago. At a hotel. I even took pictures. But I couldn't tell you. Sarah's voice sounded pained. Why didn't you tell me? I shouted. I'm sorry. I was scared. I didn't want to hurt you. But I kept the photos as evidence. Just in case. Send them to me now, I ordered. A few seconds later, photos arrived on my phone. 3 months ago, pictures of Mark and Lisa holding hands in front of a hotel. They were laughing. Looking happy. While betraying me. Something broke inside me. But at the same time, an icy calm enveloped me. This wasn't the time to be emotional. I needed to gather evidence, make a plan, and corner them. Sarah, thank you. I have one more favor. What? I want to contact Tyler's father, David. Does he know about his wife's affair? I don't know. But do you think you should tell him? Yes. He has a right to know the truth. That afternoon, I called David. David, I need to talk to you. What is it, Jennifer? His voice was calm. He didn't know anything yet. It's about Lisa and Mark. I heard David gasp on the other end of the phone. Let's meet and talk. Can you come to my house today? I said. Okay. I'll be right there. An hour later, David came to my house. Anxiety was written on his face. We sat in the living room. I showed him all the evidence. Ethan's photo. My best friend Sarah's photos. David's face turned pale. Is this real? His voice was shaking. It's real. My son witnessed it. And the shock made him fall down the stairs. David held his head. I can't believe it. Lisa. My wife. He was devastated. But the next moment, he said, Jennifer, I also have something I need to show you. What? I asked. David stood up and called his son Tyler. Tyler, come here. The boy appeared. His eyes were red and swollen. He'd been crying. Tyler, tell her again what you told me yesterday, David said gently. Tyler looked at me. Then he started crying. I knew. About Mom and Mr. Carter. For 6 months, Tyler's voice was shaking. 6 months? I was shocked. There was a day I came home early from school. I saw Mom at home with Mr. Carter. I was playing in the backyard. But I could see through the window. I saw them kissing. I took pictures. But I couldn't tell Dad. I was scared. David put his hand on his son's shoulder. Tyler thinks what happened to Ethan is his fault. That if he'd spoken up sooner, Ethan wouldn't have gotten hurt. Tyler continued. That day when Ethan came over, Mom told me to play outside. She said Mr. Carter was coming to fix something. I was in the backyard. But Ethan went to the bathroom. He saw them. Then he screamed. And fell down the stairs. David showed me his phone. There were multiple photos. Photos of Mark and Lisa kissing inside the house. Photos of them in bed. 6 months of evidence was right there. I understood everything. This didn't start 3 months ago. It had been going on for 6 months. Or maybe even longer. And Tyler had been carrying this secret alone. I hugged Tyler. Tyler, this isn't your fault. You're still a child. This is the adult's responsibility. Tyler cried in my arms. David said, Jennifer, let's fight this together. Let's make them take responsibility. I nodded. Yes. They should pay the price. That night, I thought alone. I had the evidence. But it still wasn't enough. I needed to know more about Lisa. The next day, I visited a well-regarded private detective agency in the city. The detective's name was Tom Harrison. He specialized in divorce investigations. I want to know everything about Lisa Miller. Her past, her relationships, everything, I said. Tom nodded. Understood. Give me a week. Please, as soon as possible. A week later, Tom called me. Mrs. Carter, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. I've found some interesting information. I went to his office immediately. Tom placed a thick file on the desk. Lisa Miller was in a relationship with Mark Carter 10 years ago. Before you married him. My heart almost stopped. What? They met in college and dated for 2 years. However, Mark chose you instead of Lisa. Lisa was deeply hurt. After that, she married David Miller 8 years ago. But here's where it gets interesting. Tom showed me a photo. 2 years ago, Lisa and David moved in next door to you. This wasn't a coincidence. I checked the real estate records, and Lisa looked at multiple properties before deliberately choosing the house next to yours. My whole body went cold. So you're saying she deliberately got close to us? That's right. Lisa planned everything to get Mark back. This was revenge. I sank deep into my chair. 2 years. For 2 years, I thought Lisa was my friend. I laughed with her, had tea with her, entrusted my son to her. But all along she was targeting my husband. Did you find out anything else? I asked. Tom pulled out another document. Lisa had psychological counseling in the past. After breaking up with Mark, she was diagnosed with depression. She was obsessed with him. I understood everything. Lisa was pathologically obsessed with Mark. And she planned and executed revenge against me. She became my friend, gained my trust, and then stole my husband. Tom, thank you. This information is extremely important. I stood up. One more thing, Tom said. I also obtained email exchanges between Mark and Lisa. They'd been meeting deliberately for at least a year. I took the file. I went home and read the emails. They contained insults about me, contempt for David, and plans for their future together. They intended to leave David and me and be together. Anger welled up. But I kept my composure. If I got emotional, I'd lose. I organized the evidence and moved to the next stage. That night, I called David. David, I have new information. Can we meet tomorrow? Of course. The next day, David came to my house. I showed him the entire detective's report. Lisa and Mark's past relationship. Lisa's deliberate move. Their email exchanges. David was shaking. I didn't know anything. That my wife was his ex-girlfriend, that she deliberately approached us. His voice was filled with despair. David, we have to stand up to them. But we need to prepare. I contacted Sarah. Sarah, start the legal preparations. Divorce and custody, and a claim for damages. Got it. Leave everything to me. Sarah's voice was strong. For the next 3 days, we prepared. Sarah prepared legal documents while David and I organized the evidence. Ethan's photo, my best friend Sarah's photos, my son Tyler's photos, the detective's report, email exchanges. Everything was ready. And then the day of confrontation came. I summoned Mark and Lisa to Sarah's law office. David was also present. At 2 in the afternoon, they arrived. Mark looked suspicious. Jennifer, what's this about? Lisa looked anxious too. Why is David here? We entered the conference room. On the large table, I laid out all the evidence. Photos, emails, the detective's report. Everything was there. Mark and Lisa's faces turned pale. What is this? Mark said. Where did you get this? Lisa shouted. I said calmly, my son Ethan saw you. In Lisa's bedroom. On the bed. Kissing. Ethan took a photo. And the shock made him fall down the stairs. Mark tried to open his mouth, but I continued. You, Mark, when the doctor said Ethan might have memory loss, you smiled with relief. You hoped our son would forget about the affair. But Ethan remembered everything. And he told me the truth. David stood up. My son Tyler also saw you. For 6 months. He took pictures. But he was too scared to tell me. When Ethan got hurt, Tyler felt guilty and told me everything. Lisa started crying. No, this is a misunderstanding. But I wouldn't forgive her. A misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding. I placed the detective's report in front of her. Lisa, you dated Mark 10 years ago. He chose me instead of you. You couldn't forgive that. So even after you married David 8 years ago, you couldn't forget Mark. And 2 years ago, you deliberately moved in next to us. You became my friend, gained my trust, and then seduced my husband. This was revenge, wasn't it? Lisa collapsed. I loved him. He was mine. You took him from me. Her voice was filled with hatred. I said coldly, I didn't take anyone. He chose me instead of you. But now, I'm leaving him. Mark stood up. Jennifer, please. Forgive me. I was wrong. There were tears in his eyes. But my heart was cold as ice. Sarah stood up. Jennifer is filing for divorce. She's seeking full custody of Ethan. And she's claiming $500,000 in damages. David is similarly filing for divorce and seeking full custody of his son Tyler. Mark and Lisa completely fell apart. $500,000. I don't have that kind of money. Mark shouted. That's your problem, I said coldly. You hurt 2 9-year-old children. Ethan fell down the stairs and was hospitalized. Tyler suffered for 6 months keeping your secret. This is unforgivable. David said, I trusted my wife. I trusted my family. But you destroyed everything. Lisa, it's over. Lisa cried out, please, David. Forgive me. But David shook his head. It's too late. The meeting ended. Mark and Lisa left the room devastated. David and I discussed future plans with Sarah. The trial should be in 3 months, Sarah said. The evidence is perfect. There's no doubt you'll win. Thank you, Sarah, I said. That night, I went to Ethan's room. He was doing homework. Mom, what's wrong? Ethan, it's all resolved. You don't have to worry about Dad and Aunt Lisa anymore. Ethan looked at me. Really? Really? You were brave. Because you told me the truth, Mom could do the right thing. My son hugged me. Mom, thank you. I held my son. I decided to prepare even more thoroughly. To achieve complete victory in court. A week later, Sarah came to my house. Jennifer, let's start preparing for trial. We need to make a witness list. We sat at the kitchen table and strategized. First, we need Ethan and Tyler's testimony, Sarah said. But they're only 9. Isn't it cruel to have them testify in court? I was worried. Children's testimony is powerful. But we also need to consider their emotional care. Let's consult with a child psychologist, Sarah said gently. Okay. That afternoon, I took Ethan to a child psychologist's office. The psychologist's name was Dr. Emily Chen. She greeted us with a warm smile. Ethan, can we talk for a bit? Emily asked gently. Ethan nodded. I waited in the waiting room. An hour later, Emily and Ethan came out. Mrs. Carter, Ethan is a very intelligent child. He understands what he saw, and he understands that it was wrong. He's agreed to testify in court, but I suggest that I accompany him. Thank you, Dr. Chen. I was relieved. David also took Tyler to the same psychologist and made similar preparations. 2 weeks later, we officially began the legal proceedings. Divorce petition, custody petition, damages claim. All the documents were sent to Mark and Lisa. Mark called me. Jennifer, let's talk. We don't need to go to trial. His voice was desperate. There's nothing left to talk about. Go through your lawyer. I said coldly and hung up. Apparently Lisa also contacted David. But David refused the same way. We had decided. We wouldn't be swayed by emotion. This was a legal battle. During this time, I returned to work. My job as an accountant was busy, but it helped distract me. My colleagues knew about my situation, but no one asked unnecessary questions. They just gently supported me. One day, my boss Mr. Johnson came to my office. Jennifer, I hear you're going through a difficult time. If you need time off, just let me know. Thank you. But working actually helps me feel better, I smiled. You're a strong person. But don't push yourself too hard. He patted my shoulder lightly. I understand. I was grateful. For the first time, I realized how valuable workplace support was. A month later, Mark said he wanted to meet me. Sarah objected, but I decided to meet him. In a public place, a cafe. Mark looked exhausted. Jennifer, I'm truly sorry. He bowed his head. But my heart didn't move. Mark, when our son fell down the stairs and was hospitalized, you were happy about the memory loss. You hoped our son would forget about your affair. As a father, that's the most unforgivable thing. Mark couldn't say anything. Ethan is afraid of you. Afraid of his own father. Do you understand what that means? My voice was quiet but filled with anger. I was wrong. But I can't pay $500,000. My annual income is $100,000. Do you know how many years that would take? Mark pleaded. That's your problem. You hurt our son. This is the price. I stood up. I'll see you in court. Mark held his head. But I left without looking back. My love for him had completely disappeared. All that remained was the desire to protect my son. 2 months later, the trial began. The courtroom was silent. The judge entered and everyone stood. I took a deep breath. This was the final battle. Sarah made my opening statement. Your Honor, Jennifer Carter has faithfully maintained her marriage for 12 years. However, Mark Carter was having an affair with their neighbor, Lisa Miller. That's not all. Jennifer's 9-year-old son, Ethan, witnessed the scene and fell down the stairs in shock, requiring hospitalization. The courtroom stirred. Sarah continued. Worse still, when Mark Carter heard that his son might have memory loss, he smiled with relief. He hoped his son would forget the truth. The judge frowned. That's serious. I took the witness stand. I took the oath and sat down. Sarah began questioning. Mrs. Carter, can you explain what reaction your husband showed at the hospital that day? I took a deep breath. When my husband came out of the hospital room, he was smiling with a strange sense of relief. When I asked why, he said it was good that the doctor said our son might have memory loss. I felt something was wrong. Why would a father be happy about his son's memory loss? I submitted evidence. Ethan's photo, my best friend Sarah's photos, the detective's report, email exchanges. Everything was presented to the court. Mark's lawyer attempted cross-examination, but the evidence was overwhelming. Mrs. Carter, are you sure the photo was actually taken by your son? Could it have been fabricated by someone? It was taken directly from Ethan's phone. The metadata has been verified. The date, time, and location all match. I answered calmly. Next came Ethan's testimony. Dr. Chen accompanied him, and Ethan took the stand. He looked small. But there was strong will in his eyes. The judge asked gently, "Ethan, you don't need to be afraid. Can you just tell us what you saw?" Ethan nodded. "I went to Tyler's house to play. I wanted to use the bathroom, so I went upstairs. Aunt Lisa's bedroom door was open. Dad and Aunt Lisa were there. They were on the bed, kissing." Ethan's voice was shaking but firm. "I got scared. But for some reason I took a picture. Then I tried to run away, and I tripped going down the stairs." At the hospital, did you feel anything about your father? Sarah asked gently. Ethan looked down. Dad was smiling. When he heard I might have memory loss, Dad was relieved. I got scared. So I lied and said I didn't remember. The courtroom fell completely silent. Even the judge had a serious expression. Next was Tyler's testimony. Tyler similarly testified about what he'd seen for 6 months. "I saw them many times. Mom and Mr. Carter at home. I took pictures. But I couldn't tell Dad. I was scared." Tyler started crying. "When Ethan got hurt, I thought it was my fault. If I'd said something sooner, Ethan wouldn't have been hurt. So I told Dad everything." David also testified. He testified about his wife Lisa deliberately approaching them and their past relationship. All the evidence was presented. Mark and Lisa's lawyers tried to argue, but the evidence was unshakable. When Lisa took the stand, she broke down crying. "I loved Mark. He was supposed to be mine." The judge said in a stern voice, "Mrs. Miller, I understand your feelings, but that doesn't justify the affair. Especially the fact that you hurt children cannot be erased." The trial continued for 3 days. And then the day of judgment came. The judge read the verdict. "I grant Jennifer Carter full custody of her son Ethan, divorce from Mark Carter, $500,000 in damages, the marital home, and full child support payments. I grant David Miller full custody of his son Tyler, divorce from Lisa Miller, and the marital home." Mark and Lisa were completely devastated. But we felt nothing. Only relief that it was over. When we left the courtroom, David said, "It's over." Yes, finally, I smiled. 1 year later. Ethan and Tyler were attending therapy regularly. At Dr. Chen's office, the two sometimes had sessions together. "How are you both feeling today?" Emily asked gently. Ethan answered. "Better than before. I don't have bad dreams anymore." Tyler nodded too. "Me neither. I don't feel guilty anymore." Their friendship hadn't changed after that incident. In fact, it had grown deeper. They were companions who had overcome a difficult experience together. One Saturday afternoon, the two were playing in my backyard. I watched them from the kitchen window. Tyler said something to Ethan, and they both laughed. Seeing those smiles warmed my heart. David came to pick up his son. "Hello, Jennifer." "Hello, David." We had built a good relationship as friends. "Tyler's been laughing a lot lately," David said. Ethan too. Children are strong. I smiled. Yes, much stronger than we think. That evening, my best friend Sarah came for dinner. We drank wine while looking back on the past. Sarah, it was hard at the time, but I'm grateful now. Because you kept those photos, I was able to learn the truth, I said. Sarah held my hand. I should have told you sooner. I kept quiet because I wanted to protect you, but that was wrong. No, you did your best. That's enough. We hugged. Friendship sometimes grows stronger through trials. 2 years later. Ethan's 11th birthday. We held a small party. We invited Tyler and David. A few of Ethan's school friends also came. Balloons decorated the living room, and a cake sat on the table. Children's laughter echoed throughout the house. Ethan came to me. Mom, I'm glad you're my mom. Why are you suddenly saying that? I laughed. Because you're strong. Back then, you protected me. I think I was right to show you that photo. Ethan's eyes were serious. I hugged my son. Ethan, you were brave. Because you told me the truth, we were able to choose the right path. You saved us. Tyler too, right? Ethan said. Yes, Tyler too. You were both truly brave. That night, after everyone went home, I sat alone in the living room. Stars were shining outside the window. These 2 years had been a long journey. There was pain, anger, and sadness. But having overcome all that, we're here now. Ethan has regained his smile. I've begun walking a new life. My husband had an affair. He smiled, hoping our son would have memory loss. But our son remembered everything. Our son found the courage to tell the truth, and his friend's son found the courage to tell the truth. 2 children saved 2 families. Family isn't about blood. Family is about love. Supporting each other, protecting each other, believing in each other. That's family. And we are a real family. I looked up at the stars outside the window. The future looked bright. With Ethan and me, and with all the people we'll meet, we'll move forward. The past can't be changed. But the future can be created. And our future is filled with hope. I smiled. A new life is beginning now.